Not far from Rome, in the heart of the Castelli Romani, surrounded by rich green countryside, lies Grottaferrata. The origins of this town are connected to the famous abbey founded by St. Nilous in 1004. The abbey is built on the ruins of a Roman villa and is the town's chief attraction. It lies in the fortified complex built between 1483 and 1491 by Cardinal Giuliano delle Rovere, who later became Pope Julius II. This piece of architecture was disputed between San Gallo and Baccio Pontelli. This imposing structure, built to a nearly rectangular design, is surrounded by a massive wall with a tower in each corner. The entrance lies across a stone bridge built over a moat. The original entrance was over a drawbridge, which has since been walled up. The walls enclose a succession of different courtyards and buildings. La Rocca, the Palazzo della Commenda, the Basilica of Santa Maria, and the monastery. In the first courtyard, surrounded by a hedge, we find the bronze statue of St. Nilous by Raffaele da Canigni, unveiled in 1904, the 900th anniversary of the saint's death and of the founding of the abbey. The statue of St. Nilous, which is to be found at the entrance to the monastery, indicates, through the gesture of his right hand, that he is the founder of the monastery. He was born in Rossano, Calabria, and received his vocation in 910, when he left everything and became a monk. When the Saracens arrived, he left Calabria and came to Monte Cassino, to a Benedictine monastery in Valle Luccia, where, with his 70 monks, he stayed for 20 years. He then left Valle Luccia because of his hermetic ambitions, and, with a small group of monks, he came to Serpice, near Gaeta, where he remained for 10 years. After that, he left for Rome in search of a monastery for his monks, and while passing through Grottaferrata, he stopped to pray in a chapel.
E appunto passa qui a Grottaferrata, dove si ferma in una cappella a pregare.
The Church of Santa Maria, of both historical and artistic interest, was built according to Eastern liturgy, from east to west, and here the Greek Byzantine rite, as brought over by St. Nilous, is still carried out. Although the Church of Santa Maria jealously cherishes its Eastern rites and traditions, it has always been connected to the Church. Therefore, any Catholic can take part in the Masses and sacraments there. St. Nilous was 94. He was tired, and he stopped to pray in this chapel. The chapel lies under the bell tower and dates back to the 1st century BC. Researchers say that it belonged to the daughter of Cicerone of Tulliola. Tradition says that the Madonna appeared to St. Nilous while he was praying in this chapel, and asked him to build a monastery in this place.
Pregando in questa cappella, gli è apparsa la Madonna e ha detto che voleva il monastero in questo sito. Ora da questa cappellina e questa ex tomba pagana ha preso nome Grottaferrata.
The name Grottaferrata is taken from this chapel and this ex-pagan tomb, that is to say, a barred crypt, a barred window, voiced in the name of Grottaferrata. The central door, which opens into the vestibule, or the narthex, is a modern one. The original door was destroyed by Cardinal Mario Mattei in the 19th century. The narthex was rebuilt according to the original dimensions. It has a wooden ceiling, a herringbone design brick floor with intersections of antique mosaic fragments. The baptismal font belongs to the oldest part of the basilica and certainly dates back to before 1163, the year in which the monks had to abandon Grottaferrata for many years. The iconography of this baptismal font is a rarity for the Roman and central southern areas. This representation has an allegorical significance. The water is a symbol of purification, which is closely connected to the baptismal liturgy. The portal, which leads from the vestibule to the inside of the church, belongs to the same period as the baptismal font. The first modifications to the present appearance of the church were carried out during the 13th century, under the rule of the abbot Ilario III, who embellished the facade with large marble rose windows. He also opened 2 mullioned windows with stained glass pictures in the side of the central nave. He enriched the inside of the church too, with splendid mosaics, including the floors, the altar, the tabernacle, the ambo, and the choir. Only a section of the floor in the central part of the church remains of these beautiful works of art. The icon of Odikitria, the Madonna who guides us, bears witness to the ties with Byzantine culture. The beams of the Roman and later Gothic basilica appeared to be somewhat badly damaged and must have seemed indecorous to the Renaissance mentality of the 16th century. So, Alessandro Farnese had them rebuilt in 1577. The total renovation of the chapel, which lies on the right of the church, was carried out by Odardo Farnese in 1589. The year in which this work was finished is inscribed over the entrance to the chapel, 1610. The chapel is divided into 2 parts, nave and presbytery. The Farnese coat of arms is portrayed repeatedly on the ceiling, and we can also admire the frescoes by Domenico Zampieri, called Domenichino. There are many inscriptions in both Greek and Latin inside the basilica. We would like to draw attention to the inscription around the central nave. It is written in Greek capital letters and repeats, with a final variation, the words of the Archangel Gabriel to Mary at the Annunciation. In the centre of the courtyard of the basilica, we find the neo-Gothic fountain, and in the western corner the statue of St Bartholomew, unveiled in 1954. The fountain was entirely reconstructed in 1906 and is made of a structure which resembles a vaulted canopy, supported by 4 columns, separated by 3 lobed pointed arches. In the centre, under the canopy, there is the basin, which resembles a holy water font. We are standing in front of the liturgical fountain, where every year on the 6th of January, the day of the Epiphany, which the Greeks like to call the Theophania, we come out of the church in procession after the sung Mass. The boys with the sacred vestments and all of the community.
Con tutta la gente e benediciamo l'acqua nella fontana e poi
the archimandrite blesses the water in the fountain and then blesses the congregation by sprinkling water over their heads. The bell tower was built in 1200 and restored in 1800 by an architect who became a monk. The tower was embellished with ornamental maiolica and became one of the most beautiful bell towers in the area and in Lazio. A large wooden portal, which pilgrims and travellers probably used to ring at, leads into the Palazzo della Commenda and then directly into a courtyard in which we find a portico surrounded by slender arches resting on columns of stone buttresses with Renaissance capitals. The building which is structurally connected to the Bastion, is built on 3 floors. The museum and weapons hall are on the ground floor. The last building, which is of historical importance, is the new monastery. Inside this building we can find the deputation rooms, the monks' cells, the refectory and the 2 libraries. The modern library is noted for its precious manuscripts in Greek and Latin, the Incunabulum, the 16th century manuscripts and other rare editions. Many of these manuscripts have been lost over the years owing to decay, and in 1614 a significant number of manuscripts were transferred to the Vatican libraries, where they are still kept. The library was founded in 1004, at the beginning of the 11th century, because the monks, who came from Calabria, brought the books needed for their office along with them. The manuscripts, therefore, became the nucleus of the library. We have many important books here. This is the Digenis Acritas, which is part of modern Byzantine literature. This book tells of the deeds of the Digenis Acritas in the struggle against the Arabs. It is one of many precious texts. Whether this is the scholarly version or the vulgar version is still a disputed point.
Ancora il problema non è stato risolto.
The manuscripts range from the 10th to the 15th century, but there are also fragments which date from the 7th century, as for example a fragment from the geography of Strabo, parts of which have been taken to the Vatican Library.
La maggior parte sono anche libri liturgici, ma ci sono anche libri della Iliade e Odissea. Qui anche il Tipicon di Grottaferrata, cioè il Tipicon scritto da San Bartolomeo, e che una copia è stata poi riprodotta nel 1300 e rappresenta l'iter liturgico che deve svolgere la comunità di Grottaferrata. Poi in questa parte abbiamo manoscritti latini, ma piuttosto recenti, alcuni sono anche con miniature, e poi ci sono anche, ritorno poi dietro, anche tra i manoscritti greci abbiamo 3 manoscritti del nostro fondatore, San Nilo, fondatore dell'abbazia, che lui ha scritto questi libri, l'ha scritti quando stava in Calabria.
According to researchers in Cambridge, these manuscripts were written in 965 AD, which was the year in which Sicily fell under Arab domination. St. Nilous himself refers to the fall of the final destination in a note in the margin of one of the manuscripts which bears this date. The restoration of these manuscripts and of many others is carried out in the laboratory. The laboratory was established in 1930. Before that, only the Vatican laboratory existed in order to restore the manuscripts and codes of the monastery. Other manuscripts from all over Italy and from the rest of the world were then also sent to the monastery for restoration. We have carried out a lot of important restoration. Our greatest work was when we were asked to restore Leonardo's Atlantic Codex. It was such an important and delicate mission, as well as being a secret one, that it gave us moments of great fear. The work was commissioned by the director of the Ambrosiano in Milan. For maximum security, we used to take the volumes to ourselves at the end of the day. We've also carried out restoration work for the libraries of Italy, Calabria and Sicily. When in 1904 fire destroyed the university library in Turin, we did restoration work on the Membranacee codices, which had become shriveled and illegible. By perfecting our techniques of restoration, we were able to make them legible. In the Palazzo della Commenda, we also find various rooms, one of which has got vast frescoes, which portray the story of the destruction of Tuscolo. These works of art are anonymous and probably date back to the middle of the 16th century, to the time of Cardinal Alessandro Farnese. The room in which we find the old library is also one of extraordinary beauty. Another important activity in the monastery is the choir. The choir of Grottaferrata was founded in the 1920s by Father Lorenzo Tardi. He had a great talent for music and had a flair for codices. This is why he was able to discover the signs in Byzantine music. Not only did Father Lorenzo start the choir, he also began doing concerts, both in Italy and abroad, and so became well known in the 30s, 40s and 50s. He also adapted these melodies, making them more easily understandable and pleasant to listen to.
Mentre Padre Lorenzo, che erano le prime volte che faceva sentire queste melodie, in qualche modo queste melodie, siccome non avevano l'orecchio ancora abituato, doveva in poco poco accomodarle. Ora i brani sono quelli liturgici.
The melodies are liturgical and sung in 8 tones. The repertory of Grottaferrata includes traditional music, which goes up to the 13th and 14th century, traditional Sicilian music, which starts from the 15th century, and modern Byzantine music.
Musica della tradizione popolare della Sicilia, che parte dal secolo XV, e musica bizantina moderno, di cui attingiamo...
In this modern Byzantine music, we often use melodies by Sacularides, which are easier to listen to and form part of the music from the last century. He defines his work and that of the other monks as a mission, and it is this mission that the traveller who comes here feels and breathes in this mystical and religious atmosphere. He is the ecumenical Father Emiliano Fabbricatore. who dedicates much of his time listening to people who come looking for advice and comfort. He tries to bring a little light into their lives through the Word of God. His eyes are full of understanding and love, and he replies with humility and gentleness to whoever asks for his help. What is Father Emiliano's dream? As the new Father Superior of this community, I hope that in 2004, when we celebrate our 1000th anniversary, to be able to make a dream come true, to find the remains of our two founders, St. Nilous and St. Bartholomew, who have been venerated here since 1300. Owing to various thefts, the monks hid the remains that had been discovered so well that the two silver coffins have never been found since. My dream is to find them so that the faithful and the people of Grottaferrata can venerate